Hello, listeners. This is Jim, the Keys Bartender, coming to you from Key Largo. I did not do the music. I realize that. I didn't. Let me play the music now. Okay? I was going to just stop. Let me play the music and we'll get back. Okay? Just like it happened. Pretend you didn't even hear this. Okay. Turn it down. Wow. The end of the year show. One of the end of the year show. Two before the second to the last. And that happens. So what? Puts up with the stellar production quality I've been doing on this show. I know. And I know there's other podcasters that go, oh my God, this guy sucks. Well, this is Jim the Keys Bartender coming from Key Largo. I've been doing this. We're going into our 5th year or 6th year. I don't know. It's April 5th would be the 6th year. And we're going to do a little year in review show. I'm not going to make it boring. I'm telling you. I'm talking about some of the things. We're in the midst of what people call down here. Everyone uses the term Hell Week. And I go, Hell Week? That is kind of a... depending on hell. Hell could be fun. A lot of fun people. But I wouldn't call it. It's a busy week. It's not hell. We make us. We in the service industry, the tipped employees, appreciate the high volume that we get constantly this week, helping us settle the debts that we piled up for this past year. It's great, and it looks like it's going to be a great season. And some people may say, oh, it's not as busy as it was before, or it's busier, or there's more people renting houses, less staying in hotels. Well, you got to look on the bright side. It's nice. It is nice. And sometimes people say, oh, you look a bit tired. Yeah, you get tired. You get tired and then you motivate yourself and say, hey, listen, it's a great, great time to be working down here. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone's down here. And when they do come down here. The interesting things that happen, though, is we get people that have never been down here. And sometimes they seem they've never been in a restaurant. And I'm not making fun of people. I'm just telling an actual story. Last night, I'm working. It's a regular Wednesday night. Except we got a shitload of people. And these families sitting outside, they'll never listen to this show. I mean, unless it becomes popular. But I don't know if they'll find it. They're not going to go and say, hey. But they're sitting. There's about 6 or 7 of them. I didn't take a count because I was just delivering food for them. And some salads come up. And whenever I'm free and I see food come up and I see the ticket, I go and try to run it when I have the time. Teamwork makes the dream work. Sounds like bullshit, doesn't it? But I walk this salads out to the table. And it looks like a family. And a young woman, looks to be like 19, 20. I hand 2 salads to people sitting facing her from across the table. And she goes, how did you get Caesar salads? And they looked at her and they looked at me. And I said, allow me to explain. So I went to the girl and I said, listen, even though I'm not serving this table, I'm just serving, bringing out your food. I imagine we're a restaurant. So the simplest explanation was they ordered their small Caesar salads. And she just looked at me and I go, oh, I'm just saying, well, just in case I'm a bit of an asshole. There you go. I just said it. Yeah, we're a full service restaurant. So when you order something, we normally bring it when it's ready. And they all start laughing. I go, oh, why? I don't even realize why these things come out of my mouth sometimes. And I know it's not brilliant comedy. I realize that. Just funny to me. So we have at the restaurant, we have regulars, and I got to keep it fresh with them, so I don't do the same thing. So I got to be on, be on my toes. Keep it fresh every day. And someone sees another basket of cheer. It's this time of year or something. We always have a basket of cheer sitting near the front, and it's liquor in. Last night it was in a big plastic tub, and someone says, "Oh, you got another fundraiser? What's it for?" And I had no idea what it was for. I had no idea. So I said, "It's for Save the Chill," and I started that. Children Foundation? I go, "No, Save the Chicken Foundation." And they said, "Really? Save the Chicken Foundation?" I said, Yeah. So what is it? It's a foundation dedicated to preservation of chickens in the Keys. And what do they do? And I said, well, they save the chickens for me to eat. And they just looked at me and they said, "Oh, you're such an asshole." And I go, "Oh, I am." And I don't even realize I'm doing it when I'm doing it. And people say, "Well, that's kind of lame." But, it's all timing. There was a character they had this show on, it's in reruns, Adult Swim on the Cartoon Network. And there was a show called The Tick. It was a cartoon, animated, that right now have a live action one. But I thought The Tick was very funny. It's a lame superhero. His strength was that he was kind of sturdy like a tick. A tick's hard to kill, and it can jump strong. It's strong, relatively strong compared to its size and things like that. But at one point, he's training new superheroes. And one of the superheroes was a guy dressed up like a Cuban revolutionary from the late 1950s, early 60s. And he was called Sarcastro. And I thought, wow, that would be my superpower. Or maybe kind of not superpower. People say, "You're not a very good Sarcastro because your sarcasm is weak." And I've been told that sarcasm is mean-spirited. I always think it's kind of like in the audience you're using it, the humor. It's just, I do realize that it could be negative and things like that. And I try not to be negative. I'm a positive person. But when people are ready for it, I think it's a worthy form of comedy. Speaking of that, I noticed something on one of these shows and I hope I'm not repeating myself on this, but every Christmas Eve since the late 70s, I watched It's a Wonderful Life. I may have missed a couple years, but I always watch it, and I try to catch something different. And I was watching the colorized version, so I catch more things. When you see something in black and white, you don't necessarily see it. But when it's colorized, for some reason, things pop out. More apparently, like I see it. And this one thing was where Mr. Potter and his minion, the guy that pushed down his wheelchair, his old throne-like wheelchair, sit in the office. And if you've never seen the movie, just bear with me. So Jimmy Stewart, who is George Bailey, the main protagonist in It's a Wonderful Life. I think you all probably know if you listen to this show, except for maybe my foreign listeners. It's a big holiday show, and it's about a man who the whole movie is a setup to show how frustrated he is with his dreams. He had big dreams, and he kept on getting obligations at home and things like that. He ends up marrying a woman from town who he loves very much. But he always thought he was meant for bigger things, and it was never really allowed to blossom. And at one point, he's ready. It's Christmas Eve. His family runs a building a loan, a savings and loan, a bank. And some money is misplaced, and the bank examiner's there, and there's a very good chance he'll go to jail for misappropriation of funds. And he doesn't have any way to settle this or do anything, and he just, a culmination of his crushing his life's dreams and stuff like that. And he's just falling apart. And he's on the bridge. It's a snowy night. It's Christmas Eve. And he's ready to jump in the river. And what happened? He's praying to God. He's asking for help. And they send an angel down. And and the angel shows him what his life is like. What the life of the people around him would be like if he had never been born. Because instead of killing himself, he says, maybe I can't kill myself, but I wish I was never been born. The guy says, you shouldn't say that. And then he looks up and says, oh, well, maybe that is a good idea. I'll show you what it looks like if you... And he sees that how people's lives are diminished and not... And just sad without him being around. And he could see how important he was to the people around him, and that his impact on people's lives was much bigger than he knew. How important he was to the people around him, and how much better he made their lives. So, in part of the movie, and to get back to it, it's great. If you get to see it, it's a great movie to watch. It came out in 1947 or 48, and it was a failure at the box office. And then they rediscovered it in 1974. I think PBS started playing it or something like that, and people just said, this movie's great. And they've been playing it every Christmas Eve on one of the major networks. Every Christmas Eve, yes. It's a big one here in the United States. So, the protagonist, George Garrett, and the antagonist is Mr. Potter. Jimmy Stewart is George Bailey, the good guy, and Mr. Potter is this wealthy miser, mean-ass son of an old guy. Think of the Grinch. He's real full of piss and vinegar and stuff like that. And I'm watching this the whole time, and I'm thinking it's just Mr. Potter, Mr. Potter, Mr. Potter. And then at one point, George visits Mr. Potter, and on this door it says Henry Potter. I know it's a long time. Henry Potter. And I was thinking, I go, oh, Henry Potter. And you know what's a nickname for Henry? I know you're going to say Hank. But also another nickname for Henry, and there's a lot of Henrys out there, called Harry. Harry. So Harry Potter, if Mr. Potter had any friends, could be called Harry Potter. And then I said, oh, so Harry Potter, they could be the same person, because Harry Potter's a powerful wizard. And he could go back to Bedford Falls and be a total dick. And then George Bailey would never have been able to defeat Henry Potter if he was Harry Potter, the wizard. And I'm thinking of the whole thing, and I'm telling people, I think I had made this amazing discovery, and I'm telling people, and they go, yeah, so what? And I go, wow, I just made a big deal out of something that wasn't a big deal. And then I thought, I wish I was a fucking wizard. Yeah. That's all. That's the culmination of the whole story. I go like this. Man, it'd be great if I was a wizard. I would just do some fucked up Latin spells on people when they come in. Drunken expelliarmus. When someone gets drunk, you just expel them from the room. Like they're one of those tormentors or dementors or whatever they are. I would have my magic wand. No pun intended. I'm not talking about my dick. I'm talking about a magic wand. And I wouldn't need a wizard hat. I'd be one of those Harry Potter wizards where you wear the clothes that you feel are most appropriate to you. I would not dress like the Matrix guy. I would be more of a Ralph Lauren kind of clothing as a wizard with my wizarding wand. I think that would be kind of impressive. I don't know if I'd pop my collar as a wizard, because I'm not a pop collar guy when I'm wearing a polo shirt. It has a tendency to put on too much airs when you do and say, hey, check it out. Speaking of check it out, once again, I'm going into, and last thing before I guess there's a whole show's talking about myself. I'm teaching my spin class in the morning, and there's a lovely young woman. When I say young woman, I mean actually means slightly older than me, but she's a volunteer at the hospital, and she's in the downstairs area of the wellness center I go into, and we always greet her. Her name's Maxine. She's a sweetheart, really upbeat, Her son listens to the show, and I'd like to say hi to you. I'm sorry I didn't remember your name, but thank you. Your mom is a sweetheart, and she always tells me that you're a listener in the show. I think you're in Colorado or Utah. I'll mention this to your mom. So she goes, "Hey, Jim, I saw your picture in the paper." And I went, and the first thing in my head, I go, "Oh my God." I don't know why. Since I've been down here, I've never had a problem with the law or anything like that. So, but whenever I hear I saw your picture, I always have this dread. When every time someone sees my picture, it's always something good. I'm like, oh, well, did I show up in the Monroe County Sheriff's Department arrest report? No, because I know, because it's me, and I wasn't arrested. So it's a picture that was taken, Christ, it had to be like 3-4 months ago, of me and the co-owners of The Catch. And I don't know why I'm in that picture, because they're the owners and I'm just an employee, but I'm always in the picture. When they have a picture of anybody from The Catch, they always have me, or Kathy and Paige. So people always think, "Oh, you're the owner here." No, I'm not. I'm not the owner. But whenever I hear someone say, "I saw your picture," and I go, "Oh." Nowadays with Facebook and stuff like that, it's a little easier and stuff like that. But it brought home the effect I have, the effect that must be when someone gets their picture taken when they're arrested down here. Because everyone's checking the sheriff's report. It's one of the highest. You know what? That's what I should just do. I should just post. If I want to get people to visit my site, and I get like every week, I can get like 20,000 people visiting my site, just posting people getting arrested. You know, and then I also look to see, oh, that's an attractive woman, and then I also. One of the other things with arrest, I look at the ages, and I say, well, I'm 58. What do I look like in comparison? Sometimes I say, oh, that person takes care of themselves, you know, stuff like that. But usually a lot of times, if you really need to boost your ego and every so often there's a really attractive person in there, and you just say, hey, don't let that throw you off. Most of them, they look the part. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that. So I'm going to move on. There's a year in review, and it's already 18 minutes into the show. Let's talk about the year in review. And it's going to be a selfish one, because I'm going to be talking about myself and my family, but it's part of the show. You guys, if you want to listen to year in review with CNN or Fox or whatever news thing, that's great. But we know it was leading up to 2000, the changeover in 2021. It was almost on this day. It could have been it was a year ago yesterday that I had finally had the operation to remove a neoplasm behind my jawline. And I had canceled. I had 10 surgical dates that were canceled, due some to COVID, two to the physician that was a surgeon that was going to do it got ill and he's no longer practicing anymore. And then I got a new physician and they rescheduled me. There was some scheduling screw ups, and then it was COVID screw ups and all this stuff. So it was over the course of like 7-8 months, and it was really getting to me. And I guess the anxiety level wasn't as bad as it was right before I quit drinking, which was 2 years ago, this time around, December 19th. But there was anxiety, and I didn't eat that much. So I lost some weight, and I was working out. I was trying to be motivated to do that, but I'm still thinking I got to get this thing. I had a constant reminder that I had this neoplasm on the back of the neck, which is kind of like a large tumor. It could turn out to be a goiter. It was just the size of a walnut. It wasn't sticking out like that, but if you saw my face, it was there. But they did it, and I had it done. In the first 2 weeks of January, I was recovering from it because they had a first week I had to drain in, and second week I had to heal it up. It was a big. I don't even remember. I think this. I didn't even have stitches to have to be removed, did I? I think it was kind of glued or something like that. Yeah, there was nothing to be removed. It's so different. But I had a new lease on things, and then 6 months later I got checked out, and everything's clear. So that's fine. So I was recovering at the beginning of this year. I was recovering. And I think I did a couple shows and things like that. And I know some of the shows could have been a little better during the year. But I just endeavored to go on. I was just driving through 400. I think it was 400 episodes I was going towards, because right now I'm in the mid fives. And I was thinking, boy, I'm not really getting any expansion on listeners. And I just said, well, I don't know what to do. And then, besides make it better. But, maybe I need a new, if there was someone different doing the show, maybe turn it over to another bartender. I don't think that's going to happen. But that's what I was thinking about the whole year and stuff like that. But then mid-year runs around, and I'm working out, and I said, you know what? I got to get physically fit. Physically fit. I remember a couple years ago when we had our snowbirds come back to town, and they come to my spin class. I teach that spin class at the wellness center. And one of them leans over to the wife and says, what have you been feeding him? And that statement did more to motivate me to take care of myself. I realized as a spin instructor, I was being held to a standard. And I'm not complaining about it. That standard is something, an expectation. I said, well, listen, if you're a fitness instructor, you better look fit. You could be fit. And I always explain to my students, I said, you could be fit and not look fit. Okay? But then I realized I had to look fit. And I wanted to feel, and I said, what can I do to make myself look fit? And I thought, well, I have to watch what I eat. I got to cut down my carbs. I already gave up the drinking. Maybe not eat so much ice cream and things like that. I wasn't super heavy. I had got up to 250 a couple years back, and then I kind of curtailed it back, and then floated around in the 30s, like 230. And I'm not a huge guy. I'm not wide or anything. I'm medium build. So I'm thinking, how can I'm never going to get to that 192 pounds that I was, lean and strong at college. But I said, if I can get the 210, 213, 215, which I am now, I'll be happy. I said, and then the waistline was bothering me. Once again, the ego and self-image can be a motivator, and that motivated me. I'm thinking, what is the thing I don't do? And what I don't do, I didn't do sit-ups. I didn't like doing my abs. I always worked on my arms, always worked on my chest, I worked on my legs and things like that. Because you're a guy, you think, oh, I just want to have big muscles. I want to be cut. I mean, I'm almost 60 years old. That's really hard to do. And I'm not saying I'm there. I'm just saying it's really difficult. So I didn't want to have unrealistic expectations. But I thought, what I need to do is sit-ups. And there's an incline bench. And I started doing out like 40, 50. Now listen, anybody can do this. It sounds like an incredible amount to some people. To some others who are very fit, it's not that unusual. But I do about 200 sit-ups. I break it out in the groups of 20. And I try to do 10 sets of 20 sit-ups on an incline bench. Lean down. No extra weight, just use a mind. Do that. And you start out slow and you go up and see what you can handle. And I didn't hurt. My back wasn't hurting anymore. I do my back exercises on a thing. And that was my goal in 2000. 21 to come fit. And I think I'm there. I think I'm also there. I got to get my cardio. I know I'm a spin instructor, but I got to get my cardio health in order. So I started doing elliptical and rowing and things like that. And that seems to have helped because I felt like I had long COVID. It was feeling like long COVID because I rarely say, Jim, you don't talk about your family that much. And I said, well, you know what? I do the podcast. It's my choice to do the podcast. So I don't want to invade their privacy by bringing it up. All I need to tell you is how much I love my wife and my stepdaughter. And that they're very important to me. And I share some of the things we do together. But I don't go into depth about them because they're private individuals. And you say, hey, Jim, you do give a lot of information out. But I don't give as much information as I could. Getting back. So I was working to get fit. And another thing that helped me get fit was this summer, the wife wanted to go back to Poland. She has property there and family there. And we love going there. The wife and daughter like to go for about 5 weeks. I go... Did I go with them this time? Oh, I go later. I always felt better because when they leave, I miss them, but I know I'm going to see them there. So it's not like I've done this thing where I went with them and then I came back early. That's no fun because I feel left out at the end. So I went with them, and during that, we had a wonderful time, ate some great food, met up with the family, went to the mountains, went to Warsaw, went to Krakow, had a wonderful time. Ate some amazing food. But at one point, one of our family friends, the daughter, Carolina, and Carolina was on the show with us before. She came and visited, stayed with us for a little while. She's studying to be a dental surgeon. I think she's a resident right now. But sweet girl, she says, we got to go to Kasprowy Mountain. And we were in Zakopane. That's where her family is, and that's where Abby has property there. So we go to Kasprowy Mountain. We're going to climb it. I'm not thinking anything of it, even though I'm 57 years old. And then I get there and I see these older people and stuff like that, and I start climbing. Now we're already almost at a mile elevation starting out, right? And we start climbing, and I have a problem. I go up maybe 1,000, 1,500 feet, and I'm having a problem breathing. I'm thinking I have long COVID. I'm having such a long time. My legs are not giving out, but when you're having a hard time breathing, your muscles don't work the right way. So I realized that I didn't quite make it all the way to the top. I think it would have been an extra kilometer, not upwards, but in distance I would have had to travel to get there, and I just couldn't do it. My daughter and Carolina went there, and I said they went all the way to the top. And I was disappointed in myself. And I said, man, I should be able to do this because I saw heavier people and older people coming down. I saw other people that should not have been on the mountain because they were having problems right in the beginning. Yeah, it was a long-ass walk, I'm telling you. And I know there's some people that do a lot of climbing, but it was rough. So when I came back, I said, you know what? I got to really up my game and clear this thing up. Either I'm always going to have this problem, breathing, or it's just a thing I got to exercise through. And it turns out it seems it's something I exercise through, so that worked. During the year, I realized as I get older, I may get a little more crotchety, kind of a son of a bitch, a bit of an asshole, maybe a dickhead. And I realized that being in shape reduces the amount of time I feel bad. And it helps me with my recovery time when if I get ill. It's good for my immune system and all that stuff. And it's great when I'm working, so I'm not feeling tired at the end of the day, and I don't have to be miserable about it. And I know that's a thing. Weariness, fatigue can do that. So that seemed to have gotten better. I just got to get my head in the right place. I let people's views and the way they behave affect me sometimes. And I get really self-centered about things that bother me and realize, hey, most people have problems. I don't know what they're going through, so why should I react to them that way? So I've been thinking about that more and more. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to attempt. I'm going to try to carry that through 2022. Another thing that happened this year. I'm not trying to draw on the negative, but our dog of, Abby, Sky, and I have been living together 8 years, but for 13 years, they've had a dog named Roxy, and Roxy became my dog. And it was a little 8-pound terrier Chihuahua mix, more terrier than Chihuahua, but she was a beautiful, great rescue dog. And those of you who have pets understand Roxy was a member of the family. And when we came back from Poland, all of a sudden, in August, we started noticing she was manifesting old age issues. And multiple old age issues. And it was just piling on, and there was issues. It could have been cancer, but she had multiple things that weren't tied to that. And as we started looking into them, it just started getting worse and worse. And she'd go in and out. And then eventually, Thanksgiving weekend, after Thanksgiving, we made the decision. The hard decision. And I won't go into details, and it was very hard on us and stuff like that. But then, upon reflection, when someone's gone, it's actually some of the best memories I have is the memories of the time I spent with Roxy. So I consider that a blessing she was in our life. And I don't say blessing a lot because I'm not that traditionally religious. I am, you hear that bullshit. I'm spiritual, not religious. Who am I? Who am I to say what the mind is of a supreme being or the universe or whatever? I started thinking recently in this year in review towards the end that there was I had you listen to the show, so you hear my reasoning sometimes, but I read that some physicists say that the whole universe is kind of like a quantum computer, and that everything that operates in it is part of the program. Not like the Matrix, but I've become more spiritual as I got older, and I'm starting to realize that some of the way theology and religion develops, it's man and woman, humans, trying to express a grasp of the ungraspable. Like creation, beginnings, goals, ultimate goals, in life. What's life about? Why are we here? Why are we conscious? What is our purpose? I know that's a little redundant, some of those things. So 2021 really kind of brought me back. Some people, my relatives and stuff like that may call me an atheist because I don't acknowledge their understanding of their religion. I still consider myself a Catholic. I'm more of a cafeteria Catholic, where I'm like St. Francis and all the good stuff. Ignore the hierarchy and that other things where they're going to say, well, they're a bishop, they're a monsignor, blah, 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 blah. You can't get married, you can't do this. I think that's a little silly, some of the things that they do there, because sometimes you have a lot of rules out there where you quantify things on how to be a good Catholic or a good Jew or a good Muslim, a good Baptist or things like that. But they never really say in the end run, when you get all wrapped up in the minutia, being a good person, being a good member of the community, wherever you experience your community, whether your community is your family, your clan, your circle of friends, your community, your city, your state, your country, the planet. And then the circle expands from there even further. So it could be ever expansive. Some people say, well, listen, I only worry about this in relationship to my understanding of God and stuff like that. Well, that's well and good. I'm not telling anybody to be that way. But there are possibilities to just go further and say, hey, listen, I'm very happy to exist and experience this. Not everyone can say that. I understand. But I am. And if, in retrospect, if anything were going to happen to me in the near future, I've been very fortunate. And I have nothing planning to happen to me in the near future. But you never know. It's just the way the chances in life are. I walk outside, a plane crashes, lands on me, or a satellite or something like that. But I don't have the ideations of death. I know it'll come, and I don't know what's going to be afterwards. I'm not sure about what it is, and that's kind of exciting. Because the more things that I hear, and this is what I'm looking forward to 2022, the more things I hear, the more things that seem to be unexplainable, and unexplainable is a good thing to be. If everything was explainable, it would be kind of boring. So life is a mystery, a puzzle, a crossword puzzle, and it just continues in 2021. I did not find the answers. I found a source of more questions. So many more questions at the end. One of these people that just finished taking a test, this is 2021. Oh, I got more questions. Well, you're going to have to wait till 2022 for that, which is an arbitrary date of where it travels, because 1 year, if you think about it, for us, doesn't necessarily, if there's, some people are chauvinistic when they talk about our species, that we're the pinnacle of it. And I think there's probably a really good chance, because of the vastness of the universe, that there is someplace, other forms of intelligent life that could be thinking the same thing. And we always talk about that stuff. I mean, we've got the new, this year, I think it was this year when they started releasing all the information from the U.S. military, the Navy, on UFOs and things like that. It's kind of exciting when you see that. And you see that, yeah, there's a possibility, not only there's a possibility of life, is that they might be visiting us. They might be. Who knows? It's part of the mystery. It's exciting. I'd like to thank you for listening. Thank you for putting up with some of the quality, but my intent is always to provide some value for you. And I want you to do well in the new year. The next episode, and unless something drastic happens, I'll be doing the resolution episode, even though I don't necessarily believe in resolutions. I believe in goals, and goals can be set at any time. It could be set at the beginning of the day. It could be beginning of a minute or something like that. Like, for the next minute, I will be happy. That's a good goal. No matter what, I will be happy. That's it. Or next hour, next day, I am going to be relentless. Not, relentless and being happy. That's a noble goal. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, or I'll talk about it. And we'll see. And if you can, we are still, I do not know how these numbers are working. I know we're getting plenty of downloads from people. I appreciate that. I appreciate your fans out there, the ones that listen. And I think we're probably getting close to that 100,000 because I don't really have a way to track stream on all the platforms that we exist on. But I do appreciate that. And maybe we'll start our own religion in 2022 where it doesn't involve tithing, which is, donations, or showing up someplace or dressing a certain way or being a certain way. Well, other than nice. Nice will be the pinnacle. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice to yourself and other people. How about that? Right? Thank you very much, and I'll be signing out. I'm going to do the music this time because I didn't do it in the beginning. Let's see what happens. I'll talk to you later. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.